Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night. Why am I trying to talk to the laptop when I have this on my face? I do have the Yeti here. I have to test it, so hopefully I'll get that working at some point in the weeks to come. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7. We got Lorilei here. It's Potvin. Am I saying that right? Potvin?
In English, it's Potvin, and in French, it's Potvin. And apparently, when you translate it, it means, of all things, a jug of wine. I have no idea.
In Georgia, it's Potvin.
Potvin.
That's my Georgia.
Whatever you want to call me.
Okay, Lorilai's good. Lorilai's good. Just want to say it one time, at least for the audience, so they know you're here.
Even people call me Lore, if they can't remember, because my name's spelled very strangely. So I tell people Lor. That's what everybody calls me.
We got you camping, and then Wham just came back 13 hours driving from camping. We got the woodlands representing tonight. I need to go camping for sure. Well, one thing I was just going to say, I had Michelle Desrochers and her partner help look at this place where I live because there's been strange activity here. And Helen, who we were doing hospice with, passed away on the 27th, and she was 90-something, 91, or I always mix it up. But she was, we were doing just helping her, and she couldn't get out of bed and all that stuff. She had dementia, and she passed. And, so it got a little lighter in the house, but still weird stuff was happening. Me and Christina were laying in bed, and we were asleep and we weren't moving. Something hit the bed, like over my pillow, like it shook the bed. And I got up looking with a flashlight to see if something fell off the shelf, because there's shelves around the bed. I thought something fell and maybe hit the bed, which wasn't even if it fell, it wouldn't have hit the bed like that. But I was looking for logical explanations.
I was under the bed with. That's a guy thing.
I was under the bed with a flashlight, but it turned out nothing fell. Something hit the bed. And before that, a glass exploded here on the countertop. A crystal glass is very thick, been in the family forever, just blew up. So I had June did some clearing here, and she said there was something in the house, and there were a lot of things outside trying to get in or waiting for Helen to pass. And, nothing else. She did the clearing and things felt better, and she sent the black salt, but I hadn't done the black salt yet because I didn't want to trap anything in here. Because I know she said if you do it, you could trap something in here with that stuff. So that helped on some level, but the stuff kept happening still. And then I told Michelle about it. Joe said talk to her. So I talked to Michelle about it, and then they wanted to do a clearing. And just to go over some of the stuff they found here, I mean, they knew stuff that there's no way they would have known that was really true on a lot of levels about stuff. But some of the stuff was so weird. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but it was shocking. Some of the stuff they found. And after they did the clearing, things have felt better. But there's still been Christina's been having trouble sleeping. I've been having blood pressure stuff, and that blood pressure stuff seemed like it happened when we went to church, because I was like, let's go to church. Maybe that'll help here or something. That just pissed it off, I think, more. But I had started having blood pressure stuff after that. But anyway, some of the stuff they said they found was there's a lake, and supposedly they saw a lot of natives around here and children. And supposedly the uncle had this land and has done all kinds of crazy stuff. And there's a neighborhood here. There's an old folks home. There's also a lake he made that they think maybe he dug up something and disturbed it, maybe native burial or something like that. But some of the other stuff was an interdimensional demon that was feeding off fights and conflict and energy and manipulating here. They said they removed it. Another thing was some kind of golem-like creature in the roof, which we've heard noises up there before, but they jokingly said it looked like Gollum. Maybe that's from me watching Lord of the Rings and stuff too much. I don't know. But they said they removed it. But they said we've heard stuff up there and wonder. But then it gets really weird with the mother. And I don't want her mom to hear this because we haven't really told her mother this stuff. But the mother has night terror. was. And they said that they believe she gets abducted, and there was a portal here and grays coming in and out, and that she has a chip and stuff in her. Like, that got really weird. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but coupled with the nightmare stuff, it makes you say, that may be possible. But the mother doesn't like aliens. She don't like to talk about death or anything. Like, she just hates that stuff. But she has some mental stuff too, which I'm not going to get into, but stuff that she deals with that could cause weird opening of portals and stuff and things like that. But they said they did a clearing and adjusted my energy. Said there was like 70 something souls out that they helped remove. I'm still like confused. Like, how are you doing this from far away? I mean, the stuff they knew, it makes me believe it, that they have the gift to do it. But it's kind of new to it, So I'm like, whoa, this is weird.
That's why it sounds weird. Okay, but
yeah.
To add something really quick. First of all, if you look at quantum physics, right, and they're proving that distance doesn't matter. Everything's energy, right? We're energy, yes. Words, our thoughts, our emotions, some of the most powerful things out there. So I just had this conversation with somebody that said, well, don't I have to be in front of you to have a reading? And I said, no, because it's all energy, right? One of the laws of physics, energy can't be created nor destroyed, but can be transferred from one place to another. So it doesn't matter how far away you are. I think I sent her something on, there was a study that I sent to her that I think they gave up the scientists after 500 miles. They realized it made no difference. And they actually were measuring people's cortisol levels, like stress hormones. And they really had a really controlled study. They started with like, I think one room, went down the street, went a mile away, 10 miles away, kept going. And the people were still, they were intuitive. They were able to pick things up and didn't know each other. Same thing about the portal. What did I say to you before we started the show?
Exactly.
We've got a portal here.
And they said that they'd have to catch like the grays in the act or something while they're here. They're hard to kind of, I guess, get rid of, but they might have closed the portal. I'm new to the remote stuff. I mean, paranormal, I've been doing that for 13 years or more and had a lot of weird stuff. But the remote stuff, I'm kind of new to that, and I'm open to it. It's just learning about it. But they definitely, June and them hit some nails through the hands for sure. I mean, there was some stuff that I believe it's true. It's just you got to adjust to it in your mind and everything and just accept it, I guess. But there's definitely seen enough here. I've never seen a glass explode. That felt like I was in a horror movie. Like, and then how all those horror movies usually end not pretty, like The Conjuring and all that stuff.
You don't want to hear our story because it rivals The Conjuring. Del, who's on this network as well, he's been thrown 15 feet across the kitchen, and
wow.
And he didn't tell me for 2 days. That's why I said I think it's a guy thing to debunk it. He grabbed out his battery tester or his voltage meter. He's testing all the wires, thinking he got shocked. We've been bitten, we've been burnt, we've been scratched. People that I did an experiment where we're up in Western Ontario. I have friends that are paranormal. They've been doing paranormal investigation for 20 years. They were in Colorado, had somebody else in South Florida, and somebody over in Maine. All paranormal investigators, all using different communication devices and asking questions. They all got the same answers at the same time. Mm-hmm.
It's definitely interesting for sure.
And attack too from when we're talking. I'm not in my old house, by the way. We finally left it after 11 years, but distance makes no difference for some reason. It's crazy.
I just saw a head go by. That's a real person, right? Just making sure. I saw someone walk behind you.
It might have been my son. I have a son with severe autism.
I figured they were real, but I just wanted to make sure.
You have stuff here too.
And then, I definitely believe there's stuff here, and I think they're talking truth with it. It's just adjusting to when you just had someone pass away too, and then aliens and things hitting your bed. It's a lot, But I've had stuff before, but never like. They said that they think that I've been taken. Michelle said that, but she doesn't think it was by anything bad. And I've had a lot of UFO stuff and things over my house, but I don't remember being taken. But that don't mean I wasn't. But I've had a lot of weird UFO stuff.
About UFO stuff too, but I wanted to tell you first of all, with being a nurse, I always say I've been so blessed to be there hundreds of times at the beginning of life, being a NICU nurse, and then I worked in palliative care quite a bit. So I really send you and your partner so much love and gratitude for what you did for this lady, because that's not an easy thing, especially since it doesn't sound like she was family. That is a really beautiful thing you did. Really.
Yeah, she's Christina's grandmother. Yeah.
Still a beautiful thing. That's not an easy thing to do. So you know what? My heart goes out to both of you.
Thank you. It's there's a lot of psychologically seeing it every day and everything. It gets to you, no doubt about it. And then there at the end, I had to stop moving her to the porta potty thing because she couldn't get out of bed and would fall, or she would try to fall almost on purpose. So then you had to do it bed bound, all that stuff changing. Oh my gosh. I was like, oh, but it was a lesson for sure. Try to look at it from the Dalai Lama approach when it comes to death and dying and Tibetan Book of the Dead and all that. But definitely, but it also, you're like, oh crap, this is probably what's going to happen to everyone. Which that's not necessarily true, but there's still so many ways that it can affect you just seeing it.
I am a true believer, and I don't say this with any disrespect, but I think that we're kinder to our animals than we are to human beings. Because think about that. Like you said, Christine's grandma had dementia, so she may not have realized what was going on. But when you have your faculties and you're going through that, I mean, you lose your dignity, you lose everything, and it's just really heartbreaking for the person going through it, and family members too that are never having to deal with something like that in that capacity, like you said yourself.
So this situation, I've had someone, Carter Boucher, think that he's from BFRO, that Bigfoot place, the organization, but he said that a lot of this stuff that has been happening on Bigfoot cases, that some of these things may be invisible, like Nephilim and stuff like that. What do you tell us more about the thing throwing Dale and what's going on there, you think? I mean, what is going on?
So what happened was, and I've always said we never went looking for the paranormal, it went looking for us. I didn't realize that I'd always heard the story. My dad is from a good French-Canadian French-Canadian Catholic family, I always say. My grandmother was pregnant apparently every year for 25 years and had 17 children. She was very, very intuitive. Actually knew at the moment her third son died in a car accident. Fast forward to me. I had lots of weird stuff happen on nights working as a nurse, really strange things that just seemed so coincidental, which I know now aren't. I was living in this house, the house previously. It was my ex-husband's house. He grew up in it. They never had a problem. Parents never had a problem. We bought the house when our children were young. And the only thing that I can say went wrong was we just never seemed to get a break. Like, he had 3 designations, could never get a good job. I hurt my back. I'm off permanently because of my back. Our son with severe autism was born. Yes, these things can happen to anybody, but it just seemed like there was always bad luck. Then what happened was probably about a year before we split up, because I was actually in bed for almost 20 years with my back, and I did what I could. But when I could get up, I was always keeping busy doing little crafts and stuff. And this was about 15, 16 years ago when The Secret came out. And we watched the movie, and I happened to be able to get out the day after. And when I went to a bunch of businesses, they wanted to carry all of the things I was making. It was pet accessories and stuff, and they didn't want any commission. And I remember coming home and saying to my ex-husband at the time, this is crazy. Like, nobody wants any money. They all want to carry my stuff. And I remember him saying, well, maybe it's a secret. This dream I'm about to share with you, again, happened 15, 16 years ago. It's like it happened 10 minutes ago. There was a tree in my front yard, and there was a man sitting in my front yard. I was out in the front yard with him. I always say I'm not a really high materialism type of person, but you can tell you had a very expensive pinstripe gray suit with darker charcoal pinstripes, white crisp shirt, black tie. He had this black goatee and mustache all in one piece, but his skin was kind of a sickly whitish, almost green, and his hair was slicked back to about here. But it was his eyes that got me. His eyes were like completely black, or they'd go to flame. And he said to me, hello, Lorilei. He said, do you see that little business that you have? He goes, that's nothing. I can give you wealth. I can give you fame. I can give you anything beyond your wildest dreams. All you have to do is agree to follow me. And I always, when I tell this story, I say it's not radio friendly what I told him in my dream, but I told him to get the F out. And he said, and then I said, who are you? He identified him as something demonic, gave me his name, spelt it, and again, I repeated, "Get the F out." And I still remember him. He's wagging his finger at me, really just going, "Oh, no, 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 no. Every time you see a crow or a raven, you will know what happened." And I'm not religious. I consider myself spiritual. But I remember calling on Archangel Michael. There was this brilliant flash of silver, royal blue, and white. I woke up completely in a sweat, shaking and crying. And I'm not a crier. After that, all hell broke loose. My first husband and I broke up, and then when Dell moved in, it got even worse. But Dell's got a lot of intuitive abilities. At first, it was just small things like your keys. Everybody has their keys in one place. You'd be heading out, put your cell phone beside it, sit down to put your shoes on, stand up, the keys are gone. You rip your house apart, can't find the keys anywhere. So you think you're going crazy. You cancel what you're going to do. Then you say maybe an hour or two later, we go back to go get the mail or a flyer. There's your keys exactly where they were before. When we knew we had a problem, though, I still remember it was a Monday night, about 10 after 11 at night, and our bedroom, Dell and I, was in the basement. My boys were upstairs sleeping. All of a sudden, we heard this horrific crash. We could not believe what it was. So we came running up the stairs. My eldest son met us in the kitchen. We're all going, "What the hell was that?" We're looking around, and we had an open concept dining room, and there was cupboards in the kitchen. So it was one of the half walls in the dining room. I had a little curio cabinet or a little display cabinet about this big hanging on the wall. We found it smashed in pieces, but probably about 10 feet from where it was hanging. But as we started to look at things, and I have pictures of this, on the wall, the hooks were still secure, but the left one looked like it had been yanked down, and you couldn't do that with your hand. There was a wall about 4 feet to the left, and in the open space below the cupboards, we had our portable phone, our answering machine, and our caller ID. It looked like somebody had sliced them with a scalpel. So we figure it flew off the wall. We have no idea how. Hit the wall on the left and then landed in the living room, which would have been probably about 18 feet. That's when things started to get crazy. I have pictures of the burns, the bruises, the bites. The bite does not look human. Nightmares. Dell almost died one night. It's actually in our episode on Paranormal Survivor at the end of it, but he ended up putting security cameras into our most active part of that house because all kinds of crazy stuff happened. And like I say, I don't know why. One thing I will add very quickly, though, we had a lot of people contact me with negative stuff. So probably about 5 years ago, I had somebody say, I had this dream and I was given this name. Do you know if it's demonic? And I said, well, that's not really my field. I work more with the archangelic type of field. And I said, but I'll take a look for you. And I swear to God to you, there on that same page was the name I was given, the exact spelling, and its animal form is a crow. So,
wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That sounds like some Faustian stuff for sure. I've had like offers like that in my head from something, but nothing ever showed itself physical.
No. I said no, by the way. I did not agree to take this. The other thing I'll add very quickly, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but I forgot to add
fine.
There wasn't just this entity. I have pictures of the black mist. I have crazy pictures I've released to the public. I'm writing a book about it. We had a shadow being. We also had like a shapeshifter female, would be able to shift her face, her age, her voice. And then my boys also had gifts, and Dell and my boys are not related. That's their stepdad. But Dell and my eldest could tell me, not even talking to each other, they'd see it. And they nicknamed it the Shy Guy from Super Mario. He looks like he's the Grim Reaper. He wears a black hoodie, and he's got a white hockey mask like Jason from one of the horror movies with the black eyes. That's what this thing looked like. I have a picture of it actually off of our security camera.
I had somebody, I forget who it was, break down Mario into this weird reptilian thing in the mushroom, like he broke it, like it meant different things from like ancient things and all this weird stuff. I'd have to find it, but Bowser representing on the shirt. You usually don't get the villain on the shirt, so hey, that's good. But the Faustian stuff, I feel like I've had deals like that. And I know when I interviewed J.C. Johnson, he passed away, unfortunately, from pneumonia in the desert. He's a cryptozoologist, but we did a written interview on S-walkers. I don't want to say their name, I got enough trouble, but S-walkers. And he claimed that one of the ways that you could become one was to kill your own kin. And it seems like they come to you with some kind of deal, and maybe that's it. But he went into it. It was creepy. I don't know where that interview is, but maybe I don't need to find it. But it's somewhere on a hard drive somewhere. But those things are definitely a trip for sure. But that's the thing, with dealing with stuff here. I've seen a lot of stuff, and maybe they have been, manipulating me from behind the scenes or parasitical kind of things, and I just didn't. But here it's been more evident because it seems like they're showing themselves more. And I've even had a situation where sometimes I can close my eyes and the sun will fill my body up with white light. And I was in a gym and I saw this pink orb over every person in that gym. It's almost like the sun gave me a vision. Well, one day I did it here with a skylight, and I walked back to Helen's room when she was with us, and I saw a tall, lanky being that looked through the doorway, and looked at me, and it looked like a gray, but it was almost like a weird hologram, like something you would see from looking at the sun too much, but it was like a form and you could see it. And then Christina saw it standing over the bed at some point late at night, and she says it kind of had like a mosquito kind of face, like a gray but kind of a mosquito kind of mouth. So I'm wondering if there's something parasitical, if there's grays coming in here messing with the mother and stuff. Then I'm sure a lot of these things feed off our fear and anger and negative emotion. It's food, right?
They do. That's what I was going to mention in a minute, but I was going to say it's interesting that you brought up about the grays and stuff, because in the beginning, this was like an 18-hour-a-day job, like connecting locally, then provincially, then nationwide, then around the world. And that's, started learning about all these things. And I remember I had somebody that is very gifted as a medium, good friend. She did a reading and she said, "Oh, wow." And I have the recording. She told me I could record it. And she's going, "This is crazy." She goes, "I'm hearing language like something you'd hear on a Star Trek, like this weird clicking, like almost like computer database type stuff." Then she told me that there was a crystal buried over 10,000 years ago in the ground below my property. And this area too, it's interesting you brought up about the Native history. We have so much First Nations history around here. And she said the First Nations people knew where they could live and where to put their garbage, and nobody was supposed to be living on your property, is what she said. I thought she was crazy, okay? And then I realized I didn't say that to her. But then I started looking into this, and I was just about open to hearing anything. Did it kind of mesh with what was going on here in the beginning? Anyway, so long story short, my mother has red hair, green eyes, Rh negative blood. She laughs at people that do what I do. She doesn't believe in any of this stuff, like you say. Talking to Joe, and I believe him. It runs in families. So here's what happened to me. We never got a lot of sleep. I understand about the disturbed sleep, not being able. One of us had to stay awake all night long after what happened to Dell to make sure the other three were safe while we slept. And I was at the lights. I was running to 7-Eleven. It was literally 2 minutes from my house. Okay. I've lived in my city my whole life. I know most of rural streets, being a community visiting nurse. I blinked, opened my eyes. I was 40 miles away from where the lights were. It was an hour and a half and passed. My car was in the opposite direction. I was in front of this building. I don't know where this building is to this day. It was a half circle building. Windows were kind of cracked out. My phone was ringing. It was Dell. "Where the hell are you? You were only supposed to be gone 5 minutes." And I had to say, "I don't know." And he's going, "What do you mean you don't know?" I said, "I don't even know if I can get GPS. I still to this day don't know what happened." So, but what I'm finding is more people involved with the paranormal seem to have a lot of UFO or alien stories too. Go figure.
I hope they don't try to throw me or drop me off somewhere. I got blood pressure stuff going on. I don't need that for sure.
You know what, though, Jeffrey, you said that's kind of popped up. You said since you had the clearing and since you had Helen pass away.
Well, the blood pressure stuff, I've held it before a long time ago, but it seemed like it was okay for a long time. But then we went to church, and then Helen passed away soon after, and then June did that, and then Michelle. But yeah, it seems like since the church and some of the incidents, it's gone up. But the church seemed to be one of the things that made it. Maybe it was doing it before, and I just didn't know because I didn't keep up with it. But I started keeping up with it more. It's been doing kind of worse for sure.
Well, maybe that's something after the show we can work on a little bit with protection, a little bit of healing and stuff like that, or maybe get to the root cause of what's causing that for you, that it's sort of aggravated a bit, because there's got to be a reason, and you're able to make the correlation, so there's something going on there.
And the night they did that clearing, Michelle, it shot up very high. I read that they were doing it, and then shortly after it shot up very high, and me and Christina felt like something was messing with us, and they said they pulled that thing out of here, and it had been feeding, it feeds on families, and it'll amplify. I've always heard the alien love bite stuff, and I think there's something to that. Like, so it seems like there's something trying to, like, we're a Sims game according to an alien. They're trying to orchestrate these fights so they can eat or something weird. But alien love bites, that story where you kind of like, there's weird alien stuff going on, manipulation, trying to start arguments.
Something kind of demonic and something looking like Gollum. Like, those are paranormal things. That's what I'm more well versed in. Is yes. They do. They love when you have low vibrational energy in your home. The only way we were able to get some peace and stop a lot of the physical stuff in our home was to raise the vibration in the house, meaning it was trying to separate all of us, all four of us, little fights, little arguments. I had to do a lot of regular clearing. I did a lot of house protection. I understand about the black salt. Yeah, I wouldn't want to lock something in, because we had a clearing, and I think she locked something in right in the beginning locally, and it got way worse. That was a crazy story what happened with that. And but you can if you can't get them to leave, like if there's a portal and you can't close it, then what you do is, I always tell people, then what you do is, if there's a fight or an argument, you clear the air, open the windows. Palo Santo works great. I find a lot of people like sage. I find sage removes everything, whereas Palo Santo just really removes the negative, at least sort of the positive things in there, if you will. The other thing is lots of laughter. So watching your favorite movies that make you laugh, anything that makes you happy, opening the windows, having fresh flowers, like anything that brings life and positivity in. And I know it sounds crazy and it sounds super woo-woo, and I'm not one of those woo-woo light workers, but I'm talking from personal experience. That was the only way we could combat that, because we could not close that portal. And many people told us that. I believe it. Like I said, I picked it up from you. And how long? I've never talked to you on video before we started the show. I think you got one. Be very honest with you. I think there's still probably something that's coming in and probably trying to either reattach or whatever it may be. You may have to connect with Michelle again, and because they come back, they don't forget you. Once they know who you are, they don't forget.
Definitely. And at that bar, where I could stand at the bar where the glass broke, I would get goosebumps all the time, like right there too, real bad. So it may be up there. And I just try to figure out the mother thing. I mean, I know she has some mental stuff that the doctors have said, but just the fact that she doesn't even believe in that stuff at all, and that they're coming in and grabbing her, certainly plausible, because those night terror screams are the craziest thing I've ever heard ever.
So she lives with you?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem then.
It was the mother, the grandmother, and Christina, the daughter. So I was living with all them. The grandmother passed, and then the mother's still here.
Yeah, there's things you can do even if she doesn't believe in it. I'm a real believer in not entering into somebody's energy fields. I've had people, they always, especially lately, will contact me for a reading and say, I want to know something about my daughter, or I want to know about my ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. And I keep trying to explain, could I do it? Yes. Will I do it? No, because that would be like breaking into somebody's house uninvited and helping myself, right? But
yes,
you could still do to keep your mother-in-law's energy kind of protected. And so hopefully, because I'm almost feeling from what you're saying, and I've never met her or anything, just from what you've shared, that may sort of be the portal or the entry for things to be
Yes.
True.
She said she's had some. She's Christian, but UFO stuff, forget about it. But she's had stuff happen, like weird paranormal stuff in other houses that was weird. So she believes there's something to it. She's not completely closed, at least. But I don't think she likes the alien stuff. Sure.
I keep picking up Grandma though is on the other side as well, kind of trying to help a little bit from the other side. I know it was very recent, and the other thing I will tell you is that whenever our loved ones pass, doesn't matter whether it's our beloved pets, doesn't matter whether it's family, friends, whatever, they never leave us. They're not stuck here on Earth, but they are here. They're here for every celebration, every moment of joy. When you're having a really difficult time, they're here with you. And you can ask for their help from the other side. They don't come in a guide capacity. They're part of your soul group, right? So you incarnate in every lifetime with them. If you've got somebody that close to you, they will be here if you need them, and they will try and help too.
And then my dog had passed before that, a month or so later. So I was definitely upset. I was probably providing food if something was in here eating that stuff for sure. Because I was pissed and upset for a while there. I'm doing better, but it definitely was making some TV dinners for that thing, probably.
Right. Yeah, but that's natural too, right? And I always tell people with grieving that, you know, you'll get people saying, or they won't understand, like your dog was like your son to you. And that's kind of how we got talking, actually, you and I've met you before, obviously, but you know what, it's nobody's place to say to somebody, for example, well, don't you think it's been long enough, or, you know, it was just your pet. No, grieving, there's the 5 stages. It's called Death and Dying by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And I always say it should have been called the 5 stages of loss. And it doesn't matter whether it's a loss of a job, loss of a home, loss of a relationship, or you've lost someone even that's died. Everybody goes through that, and there's no timetable for it. It's just almost eventually a new normal starts to grow around that. Never feels completely normal again, if you know what I mean. But so yes, that's what I meant to say, I guess, in that long explanation, is that was nothing you could control, nothing at all. You know, when somebody passes and they mean that much to you, that's a normal human response to grief. The other thing I'm going to share with you, though, Jeffrey, I don't know how old your dog was, or
16.
How old? 16.
He was old.
Then, because I'll tell you right now, can I prove it? No, but I think that 2 of our pets lost their lives at our previous home, and it was purposely to create that grieving response and sadness.
I'd wonder and gotten paranoid thoughts about that too when he passed, but he was old. But I'd wonder, at one point I'd seen something in my head by his kennel. I had to put him in the kennel more, unfortunately, because he was using the restroom everywhere, so I had to kind of quarantine it. But I'd seen some little small thing looking in his kennel, and it looked like one of those things off that Christopher Walken Communion movie, Whitley Strieber and all that. That's what it looked like in my head, but it was like it was kind of at his cage, and it made me just get kind of paranoid, you know, about stuff. But I don't know what it was, but it was just something I saw in my mind's eye.
It's a fine line between fear and then standing up with dominion, because we have that I believe that each one of us as human beings, and it's not coming from a place of anger, but a place of knowing that you don't belong here, you need to leave. But even if you tell them, like in my old house, you could tell them, and the only way we could stop it was using the energy principle of having like attracts like with that kind of energy. So if you had a higher level of vibrational energy, these are all lower vibrational, we're not match anymore, and it worked. I'd love to hear Wham's thoughts. I feel so bad. Jeffrey and I were like, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about all this, Wham?
I'm not thinking right now.
Okay.
I mean, I've driven 22 hours in 2 days, and you know,
she's tired.
Jeffrey knows that I've had various of these similar kinds of experiences. I interpret all this really differently than either one of you.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result of that, I really, for myself, don't have a lot of issues or problems with things invading my house. I've lived in haunted houses and have had some interesting experiences, sometimes frightening experiences. But, you know, I'm not a person who believes that you really need to like exorcise things or close or open portals or anything like that. I just have not had to do that kind of stuff in my life. You know, if things get a little bit excited in a place, I just sit down and I talk to whatever is going on, and I'm like, listen, this is my house. You can, if you want to grow towards the light, you're welcome here. If that is not what you're about, then you're not welcome here. And that seems to take care of it. So maybe I'm just like particularly gifted and sort of grounding and making things go away. But I just haven't been, I mean, there was one thing. I remember when had Stephanie on a couple weeks ago, there was one instance where I was attacked. And that was a very specific instance. And all of us got together in the house and we just cleaned it up and it was gone, and we didn't do anything special. We just filled the house with light and laughter and that was it. That was all that it took. So, I guess I don't worry that much about it. I mean, when Jeffrey was describing what was going on, it struck me as sounding very much like ancestor stuff. Ancestor stuff, Christina, she comes from a very complex family. And so, for me, it's like if it's her Italian ancestors, well, then you go out and you give them some wine. If it's her native ancestors, you do tobacco offerings. Somebody's just trying to get your attention. It doesn't have to be all that. So, it's just, of course, beings come in and out. There is no difference between this world and the other world. There doesn't even have to be portals. Everything is porous all the time.
Well, I don't think there's always portals, is what I'm saying. I think also that people have different experiences because
absolutely.
Like in the light worker field, most people I've met have never even dealt with anything like this.
Right.
And sometimes you do. And you wouldn't see me saying to everybody, I think you have a portal. Would never say that.
I know. I didn't say you did. I mean, I'm just talking generally.
Yeah.
Because I hear portal talk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just, like in the place where I was staying, last weekend, I could tell that there were some things around, but it was like I guess I just didn't care that much, and I don't worry about it that much. I've had UFO experiences, I've had ghost experiences, I've had some Bigfoot experiences, I've had a little bit of everything. I think not like some people, but. To me, this is normal.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. I mean,
it's normal, and I don't know. I just.
Well, maybe I feel almost like you misunderstood me. It's not like I walk into every house and go, "Oh my God, there's a spirit."
No,
yes, you're right. When you can see it, you can see it. No, I don't worry about it. But when you're going through it, like Jeffrey, I believe what you're going through, and the fact that. And I think because, like I say, you've lost, somebody that was very important to you, that your energy naturally is going to be lower. I agree with Wham too. Like she said, your fiance has a complex family history, but that doesn't mean you can't deal with it. Because I will tell you right now, we tried the tobacco in the old house. We tried everything in that old house. Believe me, we tried it. And there was nothing. The only thing that did work is what Ram had suggested, was filling the house with like love, light, and laughter, because you're no longer a match for that kind of thing. They were still there, but it wasn't the point that we were going through in the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of my concern with it is I've had a lot of stuff happen too, but here there's just a lot of weird kind of discomfort. Like my mother visited here, and we've had this happen to us too. We start feeling pain down our arms, And my mother had that happen. Christina's had it happen. I've had it happen. The mother has like neuropathy or something. And it's like, are we picking up her stuff? It's like a lot of weird health stuff that I'm not, like, I've dealt with paranormal stuff all my life, but not weird health stuff associated with it that's happening, like weird stuff.
I think you got a lot of validation with Michelle coming in, Michelle Desrochers, because you know what? I didn't know her when she commented on our paranormal survivor episode, but I've since gotten to know her, and I think she's the real deal. I think she's very gifted. I think she's very grounded. She's very down to earth, and you know, just some of the things that she mentioned that they picked up. That's not your usual thing you're going to run into in most homes.
And there's also strange stuff with the uncle and some abuse in the past. He lives across the lake, the one that put all that, you know, he's worked at Dozier, this weird school where all these black kid bodies were found back in the day, and crazy stuff, and worked at Chattahoochee. Like, he's got some weird stuff going on. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's something buried out there. He found some stuff and said, like, Poltergeist the movie, and just kind of, just cover it up, move it over there or whatever.
Or the nurse, you got a nursing home, you said.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be a lot of people transitioning. I have kind of a weird theory about people with dementia, because I worked in a nursing home for 4 years, so I was going to university for my nursing degree. And you know, speaking with different mentors and different people that work in the field, it's almost like when they're really, because when there was a full moon, you never had to check, you always knew. And they'd be up, you know, walking around, wandering wherever, and it's almost like they weren't there. And I almost believe this, working with a couple of the mentors, you know, I've talked to, and different other people, that because I believe we're able to astral travel, especially during then, that's when they're doing a lot of that astral traveling, is when they're, you know, we used to call it the sundown syndrome, when they'd be wandering around and
yeah, that's what she used to do. And the weird thing is, they said there's like a lot of people's souls, I mean, spirits wandering around the lake and stuff. Is that like from the old folks' home? They didn't, maybe they said they went to the light after something they did, but, and then, you know, I think we got some empathic stuff. Are we picking up all this health stuff? I mean, that thing's like 200 yards away, the old folks' home.
But there, again, right, there is no time, space on the other side. The other thing I have seen evidence of, and I believe it, is when people are in those final days before they cross over, that they can leave their body. They can leave their body. I have seen evidence of people actually leaving the whole body, the whole energy body leaving before the physical body expires. The other thing is, and I'm writing a book about this, I'm collecting a lot of stories, because as nurses, we seem to see a lot of unusual, really cool, you know, stuff that you can't explain. And I don't mean it's cool that somebody's passing away, but one of the things that I call it is the gift. Not everybody gets this, but especially if somebody's terminal, and you know that they follow a certain process, and you have physical signs when somebody's going to pass in the next 24 to 48 hours. It's almost like they wake up, like they're completely lucid, like how they were in life before they were ill. Sometimes it's 5 minutes. I've seen this one 8 hours. And then it's been really hard when you've had families that believe it's been a miracle, the person's been healed. And that's not what it is, but it's almost like you get to have those final conversations, or that's why I call it a gift, because it really is a gift. The person's usually comatose when this happens. And it doesn't happen with everybody, but I've seen probably about 75-80% of people that it happens with. So
we've had some weird stuff like that when she was in there, when Helen was, she would wake up and say weird stuff like about chicken, when there's no way she was in the room far away about chicken. It's like her body, she was astral projecting and astral spying on other conversations. And then she'd wake up and start talking about the stuff we were just talking about, that there's no way she heard it because it was too far away. And she's deaf. So, it was weird. So I believe that they do that for sure. Definitely. They do some kind of weird astral stuff. It's kind of at the end there, like a cocoon, you know. And then I guess the spirit is young and, you know, eternal or whatever, and it's roaming around and waiting to get, you know, break free from the cocoon, so to speak. That's definitely, you know, And then one of the big things that I've seen since my early 20s is beings of light with my physical eyes. I've seen them many times leave my house, luminous beings of light. I've seen them fly through the sky like Superman. I've seen them in the heavens like a Sims game in a quantum realm around the earth gathering. And I don't know if that's like a staging area where you die and you go there and wait and kind of do a life review. But I've seen that stuff with my physical eyes. And so I guess I know there's been shadow stuff, but this is like the first time I guess I've seen the shadow stuff more, so to speak, darker stuff.
The one thing I always say, the more that I open this door, the more smaller I feel than a one-celled organism when it comes to the amount of knowledge. Like I always say, I never get too comfortable. I think I'll be learning for the rest of my life. Like that's why I asked Wham. I want to hear what her thoughts are and her experiences. I'm glad you shared that, because everybody's had different experiences and how they handle things or what they dealt with. And I think it's important we can learn from everybody talking about what their experiences have been, whether it's in life or the paranormal or Bigfoot or UFOs, aliens.
I guess what I would recommend, and this is what I always recommend, I recommend, because this was sort of my foundation, I recommend the Seth material, because the Seth material covers all this stuff. I mean, all of it. And it provides a metaphysical framework that can give you can give a person a foundation for understanding of, virtually every experience I've ever heard of. As well as a toolkit, a basic toolkit for how I as a person can understand the wide variety of things and people and beings that are just around us. And I guess, maybe I'm kind of boring. I mean, I think I agree with you. I think we're always learning, because there's, no one way of experiencing things, and everybody has their own stuff.
I don't think you're boring.
But I guess for me, it's like I'm satisfied with that foundation. Mm-hmm. So I have found that it is flexible and malleable and wide-ranging enough that I don't really need to have lots of conversations about this stuff. People do come to me and ask me for help with things, and I listen to them and I try to help them when I can. Mm-hmm. But, maybe I'm just tired. I don't know. But sometimes I do talk about this stuff more.
I just didn't want to leave you out. That's all. I felt bad, but I understand you're tired. That was a long drive.
She just got back from a long drive and a trip, so I understand definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not trying to diss anybody's experience. Not at all, because I've had friends that have come to me, and said, this and this is happening. What do I do? And they're freaking out because they don't have any experience with stuff. And, like I help the Bigfoot researcher here all the time with UFO experiences because they terrify her. So, I do help people. I guess,
This went off on me. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
It's no problem. It's
did I lose my audio? Oh no, hang on, guys.
And I appreciate
I'm still here.
I appreciate that you're afraid that you're afraid that you're going to leave me out. But I don't feel left out. I feel like my brain is mush. And
22 hours will do that on the road.
It's like, it's like there's the spirit world, and then there is sitting in traffic in Dayton, Ohio for an hour and a half for no apparent reason that anyone knows about, and just sitting there in 95 degree heat and hating the world right at that moment.
I got you totally. Gotcha.
She's camping too, for sure.
The thing go ahead, Jeffrey. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead and then I'll ask you. It's okay. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is I know because I guess I don't even like the term light worker, but people seem to identify with that. I've even asked, like, why am I dealing with because I do deal with a lot of dark stuff, but I tend to prefer to work with more positive, ascended masters, things like that, right? And angels, but it's kind of, I don't know if that's part of what I'm supposed to be doing with the work that I'm doing or what, but and when you live through it, you kind of got to learn about it, right? Otherwise, how do you stop it?
Definitely, definitely. So what I was going to ask you, did Dale came to terms with what threw him, or did you ever figure out what exactly it was that can do that? Seems like it takes a lot of power to do that, like to hit that bed and the glass, to throw someone too. I know I just saw some video, I think it was on Coast to Coast AM, some dude, I don't know if it was Brazil or Spain or Mexico or whatever, I couldn't, it didn't have subtitles in English, so I didn't know what he was saying, but he showed this ghost attack video on the news, and this security guard was walking through a building, and something just grabbed him and threw him into a metal wall, and then he crawled and it like beat him up. It was weird. I mean, I don't know if it was real. It seemed legit, but it's hard to tell, but definitely it was creepy. So just the fact that these things can manifest that kind of power
I agree, and I think it's got a lot of anger, definitely. What I can tell you is I was always told never to do EVPs in my house. This is before I've learned all the stuff that I've learned. Like, this was going on for quite a few years. I mean, we were in that house for 11 years, and we've been in this one for almost 2. So, I mean, it's been a long time. And like I said, it was like a full-time job. So what happened was, I think you probably know Jason Bland with Paranormal Soup.
Have you heard Sounds familiar. I don't know him.
I've heard of it. On Sunday nights here on Facebook and YouTube. And there's 2 Halloweens I called in, and he was doing ghost box sessions. Now, the guy that was running the ghost box said he's never seen a demon, doesn't believe in demons don't exist, and basically would really give me a hard time because I used to call in quite a bit when I was trying to learn. That's right. Well, there is a recording that I have that if you hear that, it will blow your mind. It was calling us by name. This was not planned. It's on video. The guy in the background, you can see his eyes wide as saucers because he was the one always saying there's no such thing as these things. Apparently the app didn't work at all. And what had happened, it was Jason's annual Halloween show. And I forgot, I was actually watching a Lincoln Park Memorial concert. So this is back in 2017. And I went, oh, it's 5 minutes left, I'll call in. And I called in, and the show, he had extended it an extra half hour as the last caller. When you hear the stuff that comes through this EVP, it will blow your mind. The voice, I called from the most active part of my house. And then the next year, we were on the same network, a previous network that I was on, and he was on at the same time. And we had a spookathon. It was 84 hours of live paranormal radio. So I call in again. My partner, Del, wasn't even in the room. It mentions my partner by name, calls Jason by name. There's like, how did that happen? That wasn't planned. I mean, and I wasn't one of those, they weren't using one of those devices that uses like different words and phrases. They can just pull it out here and there. I mean, this was just a radio frequency going through, and you can hear these clear as day. I'll send it to you if you want. With the bite, I've sent it to a few people, but the gross part is where Del was bit was right here on the upper cheek. It's all got pointed, sharp teeth with the bite mark. And where I was burnt, it looks like a cigar burnt me on my tailbone right at the top. And where that happened was I was talking to a Canadian paranormal team, and they thought they could help. And after I got off of Skype with them, I started feeling this burning. And I look in the mirror, I've got this blister on my tailbone. It looks like a cigar. So I haven't released those to the public because obviously they're more private places. But I do have a picture. Also, I was combing my hair in the mirror, and I felt burning on my chest. And I just happened to be in like a bra. Well, it looks like a bikini top. I have a red handprint right across my chest here because I've released quite a few of the pictures to the public that we've taken. But there's been other people that have been affected. So does Del necessarily say he'll finally admit it something unexplainable? Because I don't know if, I think now that he's gotten more into the paranormal in the last couple of years, I was always the one that did the research, but he always had to debunk it 6 ways to Sundays before, which is a good thing because you can't just jump to everything's paranormal just because you can't explain it, right? So has he made peace with it? I don't know, because what happened the night he almost died, he had a camera in the most active part of the room. We used to smoke. We smoked, and he said I was sitting in a chair. I hadn't slept for a couple days. It's the only time this ever happened to me. But he said I was moving my arms up and down, kind of like a puppet almost. And then he said I was standing up and I was talking and laughing. I don't remember this. All I remember him doing is getting very angry with me and telling me to leave the room. And I said, don't you talk to me like that. And I was really angry because I don't get angry like that. The minute I stepped out of the room, I was fine. And I remember we laid down because this was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And he was in the bed next to me. And I was laying there thinking, what the heck just happened? Like, why don't I remember this? Like, what's going on? All of a sudden, Dell started shaking like he was seizuring. And I remember shaking him going, Dell. And it was his voice, but it wasn't him. He's going, I'm okay. I'm all right. And I have a bad back. I remember jumping out of bed because he started to choke. I picked him up and I'm shaking him. I swear to God to you, Jeffrey, all this black stuff was coming out of him. All of this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, do I need to call 911? What do I need to do? All of a sudden, he woke up and he was able to breathe. We've never been able to find out what happened with that, where this came from, what it was. And after that, like I said, one of us always stayed awake during the night to watch everybody else where they were sleeping. Because my boys had things happen to them too, not like that, but things that would scare them.
Well, I know I saw one picture from you, and you sent the spookathon stuff to me for sure. I heard it. It was definitely interesting. But one thing I remember you showing me was a picture of a security cam picking up a cloak being, and at one point I saw 3 cloak beings standing around a black box in some woods with a friend in a Georgia house. So what happened with that? What kind of being was that? Do you think?
So what happened with that? Okay, so our security cameras, when this all started, would not record. We had things like that happen in our house. I had, I think, 13 flat tires on my vehicle. Always never figure out what happened. It wasn't me. It's just one vehicle. We had a brand new stove. The element went in the bottom of the stove. I had the guy in to repair it, to fix it. Nothing wrong with it. Just wouldn't work. Same as the recording function on our security cameras. So we had the guy come in. We had to bring in the box. They couldn't find anything wrong with it. So what I did was, we were, like I said, the monitor was in our bedroom in the basement. And Dell says to me, what's that old lady doing in front of our house? And I go, what old lady? He goes, that one. And it's my neighbor. I think he had a 1960s type of Corvette or something. You can see the picture. It doesn't have a hood on it. It's, I guess, convertible, sorry. And I said, what the heck is that? So I start snapping pictures of the monitor. And he ran upstairs and took pictures from the outside at the same time. And that's what I sent. I knew I sent you this stuff. And there's nothing on the camera outside, but you can see it on the monitor. I don't know. Was it that shy guy thing? He looks like he's wearing a black cloak. He's got a white mask. I don't know. So got lots of stuff on there.
The ones I saw were standing around a black box, and they were small, probably about this tall, 1 or 2 foot. And a cat jumped towards them, and they vanished. We're at pig noises. We got a mini pig. Let me tell you, they're brats. They're fun. They're fun most of the time, but they do not stop with the grub. They just want you to feed them forever. My gosh.
And they're smart.
But they are. They're really smart. They're definitely. She's running around with the dogs and playing with the dogs, and first I was like, I don't know if the dog need to go near her, but they finally lightened up with each other. Right. And we had one incident with Zenobia, the American Bulldog, when we went out Wednesday. We went to this park recreation area, and there's water, and sometimes she'll swim, but she don't go far out. Well, she decides to go far out, and the river starts trying to take her down. It wasn't really rapid, but it scared the crap out of us, and finally she came back. But it was just scary. Like, God, it scared the crap out of us.
Well, how could it not?
Yeah, and usually I didn't think she'd ever go that far out. I didn't even know she could swim like that. I don't think that was my first time experiencing her swimming like that.
Do you think we saw something out there? Maybe it was even an animal she might have seen. You never know, right?
Yeah, it was just her wanting to swim, being excited, and I guess she got kind of caught up in this river, and it just kind of doesn't seem like it was that strong, but maybe it was stronger than that. But it was going down. She started moving with it, and then the big part was you couldn't get on the land really the way it was shaped. You had to find a place to get her back on the land. But it was scary for sure. But she's okay.
How have your animals been with that? Because I always tell people, trust if you've got little kids around, because I believe little ones can see spirit. And the other thing is, I always say trust your animals because they can see, I believe, too.
Definitely. I think they see a lot of stuff here for sure. No doubt about it. One of my weirdest experiences I've had with a UFO was in Lynn Haven, Florida, walking down the road, and this orange, rusty, heavy ball just floated over the road. And it was like no chains attached to it, no helicopter carrying it, no crane. It was just like floating. That's one of the weirdest ones. And I'm like, did that one take me? And I don't remember it. Like, I've had stuff like that.
People contact me and say, okay, this is going to sound really weird. And I always say, try me, because nothing seems weird anymore for the things you hear and the things you see.
This thing was weird. Like, it was just, you think alien, what's the little dude, Oscar the Grouch lived in it or something, the way it looked. It looked rough, like it came out of the water.
I'm dying to ask you, so what's your thoughts about Bigfoot? Do you think that Bigfoot is interdimensional?
I think that there's something to that. I don't know completely, but based on some things and people I've interviewed, I definitely think they have some kind of cloaking ability. And they may all not. Like Jay doesn't think they are, and he's seen one, my other co-host. But I think, well, what if some are and some aren't? There may be, a tribe that's physical only, but maybe they all are. I don't know. I'm definitely open to it. I've had Ron Moorhead on Quantum Bigfoot. He wrote that book, and he's even open to that now. So I think there's something to it. I just don't know what it is exactly. But yeah, I think there may be some rim walking or something weird. It's definitely something to it.
I'm trying to think of Laurie's last name. She's a remote viewer. I want to say Johnson, but it's not. It's like Willis or Wilson or something. She does. She's got a page on Facebook which is remote viewing, and there's this interview I've tried to find, and you can't find anymore, with Connie Willis. This woman had no interest in Bigfoot whatsoever, but Connie Willis was huge into Bigfoot, right? So she asked her to do a remote viewing session with Bigfoot. It was like astounding. Now again, was it real or not? I couldn't prove it. But the thing is, I guess this lady's been tested, and she's got like an 85% accuracy with remote viewing. And the reason why I was looking for it is, like I said, Del never really looked at anything paranormal till he started his show. And he is Métis, so he's part First Nations and actually Ukrainian. And what we find is a lot of people around here, he's connected with one of these guys on YouTube up in Alaska he's had on this show. What we're finding is the little people, like I actually said to him, I never thought I would ever in a million years have a conversation with you about fairies or little tiny beings. And he's been obsessed with this lately, finding out more and more about them. Have you heard of those guys at all?
Yeah, I've heard of little people and things like that, and we've had some natives on talking about the corn harvest festival and stuff, and trading with them and stuff like that. Yes, it's interesting for sure.
And we have prime real estate here for Bigfoot. There's a guy by the name of Dean Macaulay who makes films and stuff here. He's Métis, so he's actually interviewed on in some of his documentaries a lot of the First Nations people around here, and they've got a lot of information from the legend and lore and stuff. It's really interesting. A lot of them don't call them Sasquatch though, because I had actually thought that had come from First Nations, and they say no. Interesting.
What do they call them usually though?
Oh God, I can't remember the name.
There's different names. I know they have so many. There's a lot of different names.
But they seem not to worry about, like, some of the stuff we saw was do not whistle in the woods. It's kind of like they left Bigfoot to their own. They've known they've been here since as long as they have, from some of the people we've talked to, or some of the documentaries we were looking at that this D. Macaulay guy had made. And it was more about these little beings. And I've seen there's a video actually from Alberta, Canada. There's a guy on YouTube, Nuke's Top 5. He doesn't put anything up there, and he's a bit of a skeptic, but he gets videos sent from all over the world with like alien, you name it, paranormal, and he never tells you. His phrase is it all just an elaborate hoax? You decide. And there is a video of these people from a reserve in Alberta, and they caught these little beings on camera, actually. And so they're turning the lights on and off, and it's some kind of, I don't know what it is that it's hiding behind it, something in their yard, and it keeps peeking out and looking. It's really interesting. I'll have to send you the video. You can check it out yourself.
Yeah, I was trying to find it, but yeah, send it to me. I love stuff like that for sure. I know there was some weird one they. Oh, I don't think if I have, I don't remember the name. But.
Okay. Sorry, you were going to say something. I apologize.
Oh, there was some Bigfoot video that was released recently. It's kind of weird, but I wasn't sure if it was a Bigfoot. It was kind of crossing the water, like it was carrying something. I don't know what it was, but it was a weird one. It was definitely weird, whatever it was. It was one of those you didn't really know what it was. It could have been a person playing a hoax, but it was odd. I know that one was just going around recently. And then I've interviewed Kawani before. I don't know if you've heard of him, Kawani. Laparitis, he did the book Sasquatch People and Psychic Sasquatch, but he has a lot of stuff about portals and Bigfoot and being interdimensional and dog people, and there's definitely some weird levels with it, especially when you tie in the UFO stuff. I've interviewed Stan Gordon, who Pennsylvania has a lot of UFO Bigfoot cases. That's when it gets really weird. That's why I wonder about the Nephilim connection and stuff like that, weird stuff like that.
There's so much about the Nephilim, though, and it's like, were they giants? What were they? Are they still here? Right? Like, there's so much information about them. You're not really sure. And then again, you'll get people that will say that there's no such thing as fallen angels, that's just myth, legend, and lore. So this name that I was given, and like I have a bunch, as we all do in our fields, books, it had a supposed fallen angel names in there and stuff. I never saw this name. I was raised Roman Catholic, was sent to Roman Catholic school, made to go to church every Sunday. I'd never heard this name before. And then to find it like 5 years ago on a page, and it was really, it's not a long name, but the exact spelling of it and everything, that blew my mind, because where did this name come from? I don't think I made it up. So,
Have you come across many other cases where something appears and does a false kind of weird thing like you had? And then I've had that stuff in my head, but never really seen anything. But is that something that comes up a lot? That's like the crossroads, right? Or something like that at the crossroads.
Well, yeah, you know what? One of my favorite shows, I don't watch a lot of TV that's not anymore, Supernatural. And I always thought it was false, fake, whatever. But there was, I forget what, I think it was a Golem, actually. There was an episode on there, and Dell and I were talking about it. He goes, well, I think it's something like that. So we started looking up a lot of this stuff. It's mostly having to do like with the monsters that they used to do early on, or things like that. But it seems like they do a lot of research when they do an episode. So when, they had a lot on there about crossroads demons and stuff, like, I don't think that was based on information, but I don't know. We always hear that story about Robert Johnson, right? He supposedly made a deal with the crossroads demon and became one of the world's best guitar players way back in the day. I don't know.
I've heard that one for sure. And I don't know, is Papa Legba similar to that? Wham, is that a similar thing with him, the crossroads, or is that something not to do with him?
I think it just has to do with the belief system, right? That's more with like voodoo and hoodoo, and then you start getting into Louisiana.
Yeah, I mean, Eshu Alegba is connected to the crossroads. I'm not sure how that connects specifically to the guitar player, but it might be part of a cultural thing. Absolutely. It's possible.
Like, I'll tell you, for example, I had this fantastic doctor. That's how I was able to get out of bed after 20 years. And I got to know her quite well. And I didn't want to tell her what was going on in her house. I thought, oh my God, she's going to be signing a Form 50 or something, sending me to the mental institution. And one day I was talking to her, and she's of Muslim faith. and she grew up in Pakistan. And first thing she said to me is, "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" I said, "I thought you would have thought I was nuts." And she goes, "Oh no, that's what we would call jinn." And she said, "You might call them genie." I knew quite a bit about jinn anyways before she had said that. And she said, "But there's good and there's evil jinn." Now, the really weird thing, I'm going to go back to Nuke's top 5. That's not the only video I watch, but it seems where people send stuff in from different parts of the world, they seem to have more of something. Like in the Middle Eastern videos are crazy when you see these black shadow things they refer to as jinn. Then you go down to South America, they seem to have stuff. Then you go wherever, right? So is it a tulpa? Is it because of the belief that we're creating these beings, or what is it, right?
Definitely. I've heard of that too from Twin Peaks and stuff like that. Here's an interesting story. There's a lady we know, and I'm not going to say her name, but she's native and from Canada and lives down here. But we had brought up, Christina had brought up some stuff about, spirits and weird lust stuff, like how they try to get people to do stuff sexually and weird stuff like that. But anyway, the lady, I'm trying to put this in good words. She was just like, well, just go with it. Just do them, and then they'll go away.
Never.
And that's what we were like, no. It was just shocking the way she said it.
Well, did you ever hear the story about the lady in Ireland that claims that she married a 300-year-old pirate named Captain Jack, and they had marital relations?
Like
and now
that. Yeah.
But I've heard this story before of people say it seems to be with women that have been married, they lost their spouse, they've been married for 50, 60 years, and then when they will divulge, maybe to someone close to them or a healthcare provider, that their husband still has marital relations with them every night. And my thought is, you have no idea what you're having relations with. No, I would never advise somebody just to go with it. Never.
Yeah, for real. That's crazy. And in most of those cases with stuff sexually, is it more of an astral thing, or are they actually like really doing stuff?
Actual. And then you've got succubi and incubi, which are a demonic form. They, how you said feeding on energy, well, they feed on sexual energy. And I have met people personally that have had, I think it's called spectrophilia, actual sexual relations with, if you want to ghost, whatever you want to call it. And people I know, so I know they're not lying. I know they're telling. I know someone very close to me actually but she deals a lot in the occult. She collects haunted items. She's a occult historian. She says she's done that before, and I would believe her. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the way to have some of them little mutant babies. You don't want to do that.
I've never heard of pregnancy yet, thank God.
That's like the lady that the pirate thing reminds me of a lady who like married a wall at a train station or something like that, or a train.
Contradiction.
Well, they married the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Inanimate objects.
There are several women who have married the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
That is definitely a trip for sure, no doubt about it. But we've heard Bigfoot stuff. We were talking about that with Stephanie Quick, a lot of Bigfoot sexual stuff. And Stephanie put this weird thing together. Like, did you get that weird email or whatever with all this stuff? It was like all these stories of Bigfoot stuff. That was crazy. But there's definitely something to it, because if you look at the story, of supposedly the angels breeding with women and making those little Nephilim hybrid
things. About the Nephilim with Bigfoot? Oh, yeah. I've heard that theory before. Yeah, definitely.
And then, of course, supposedly the flood wiped them all out. Supposedly, maybe they didn't get wiped all out. And there's even some stuff that there was parts of the land that didn't get flooded during that, and China dynasty and all that. So the flood might not exactly, wiped out everything. So those things could have went to wherever.
Sardinia. Like my moderator from a group on Facebook, she's from Sardinia, and she didn't even really know about this. She's actually a very gifted psychic and medium. But I said, well, what about all those giant bones that they've been finding where you live? And she goes, what giant bones? I go, like the tombs, like the government take, because I've seen documentaries, Dell and I, like a femur bone, like this long, and molars, 3, 4, 5 times the size of human molars. And as soon as somebody uncovered it, the government would come and confiscate it. So is that one of the places where the flood, you would think the flood would affect? They're surrounded by water, but where are all those large bones coming from?
And then they found that dragon man skull, like that big skull in China, I think it was recently. It's like a big skull. There's the pig.
Oh, is that your piggy?
She's a ham. She's a ham.
I love it. Well, you know what? I just say when somebody, that's where I say kind of dull and I meet in the middle, because he's so like, he's got to prove it 6 ways to Sundays before he'll admit it could be something else. Whereas it's not that I'm gullible and I'm a believer. It's just I know I don't know every single human being on the planet. I don't know their experiences. So when somebody tells me something, unless it's obviously absolutely insane that there could be no rhyme or reason to it, but I will just sort of leave it open. It's not up to me to judge, I always say, but I will hear what they have to say. I always believe that the truth eventually reveals itself. It usually does in some way or another. So I tend to not argue with people when they share something with me. I just listen.
Definitely. And I mean, when they do become parasitical, it does cause health problems, right? It can cause health problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like I said, and I have to agree with Wham where she said, and we sort of talked about that a bit, she even covered some of the things I was going to suggest, because first of all, filling the house with love, laughter is raising the vibration. You're no longer a match for something like that. If you can't get into that space, that's why I always suggest to people watch one of your favorite movies that you know is going to make you laugh. Laughter is powerful. Have people over that you love being around, that you have a good time, you know, celebrating, laughter, joy. That is so aversive to them. And then the other thing I have to agree with, if you believe this may be First Nations in nature, I agree, like making an offering of ceremonial tobacco, or like you said, Italian roots, you know, some wine, or you got a medium in there even to connect if you're not able to communicate, and ask them, because I agree. This is the analogy I always use. Say you passed away tragically very quickly. You didn't know that you passed and you thought you were still alive, or you chose to stay here for whatever reason. Revenge, you just love your house, you don't want to leave your stuff, right? All of a sudden these strangers move into your house. You're still there. You might think you're alive, right? And they start, you know, they're taking over your spot. You're going to do a few things, but all of a sudden it seems with renovations, it really ramps up. What would you do if some strange people moved in your house? You knew they couldn't hear you, they couldn't see you, and they're ripping your house apart. What would we all do to get them to stop?
Yeah, right? It seems like that's happened in a lot of those cases or something like it. I guess the thing I wonder too is, okay, let's say you croak and you're still in your house and that happens. What if you're dead? Your reality, you can't really do a lot of things that you normally could. Like, let's say read a book, play PlayStation, look at the computer, whatever. You can't, right?
I mean, maybe you can. Like I always say, I don't think we're going to have all the answers till we transition back ourselves. But you know, most people meet up. There's usually always a loved one or somebody you will recognize to cross over with. You know, we have free will in death, I believe, as we do in life. That's why I think why we have earthbound entities here, for numerous reasons why they choose to stay.
Yes.
You know, or like Wham was saying, you know, that's part of what I do too. We can, you know, guide them that there's a light here, you know, go to the light. A lot of people don't leave because maybe religious belief, they committed suicide, that hell's awaiting them on the other side or whatever that may be. So they're afraid to cross. There's lots of different reasons why people don't, right?
So if you're dead, can you still Netflix and chill?
I don't know. Why not?
How about Hulu with Cthulhu?
You know what? That we have, like, we kind of, if you will, a more holistic, well-rounded approach. We can see things from a lot bigger perspective. But I'm guessing if you really wanted to, I guess why couldn't you?
Has an energy signature. Maybe it's like it has like an astral thing in itself too, or something like that. It's weird to think about, but I mean, I've heard stories where people don't know they're dead, so I've always wondered.
I've met people, and I have the strangest story. I had somebody contact me, and they were terrified. Somebody I knew. They opened their bathroom door, and they could see this woman that was 9 months pregnant, soaking wet, screaming, "He killed my baby! He killed me!" And just furious. She was terrified. I said, well, where did this woman go? And she said she ran in my bedroom, and it was a spirit form. She didn't want any part of it. She didn't want anything to do with it. So I did my best. This was in California. I'm in Ontario, Canada. So we ended up crossing her over. But she was somebody, it sounds like, that died very, very tragically, very quickly. What I got from her was her boyfriend didn't want the baby and drowned them both when I guess they were in the lake. But I said to her, the reason why this woman must have appeared to this woman that contacted me was, again, if you don't realize you're dead and nobody can hear you, nobody can see you, and then you're running around frantically, and then you find someone that can hear you and see you, of course you're going to try and communicate with them, right?
It is definitely strange to think about. So, what do you have a spiritual belief system? What is it? What is yours?
For me, mine is I believe in God. I believe in an afterlife. I no longer subscribe to church or Roman Catholicism. No, I don't knock people that do. I mean, if that's something they need. But to me, I just believe I don't need to go to a special building if supposedly God is everywhere. And I've never needed to go to a special building if God is our Father. I've never needed to go to a special building to communicate. And that's just my belief system. But again, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the dogma and fear-based stuff that religion tends to offer.
Yes, there's a lot of craziness for sure. And I grew up in Georgia, so my father was like a street preacher and all the Bible Belt stuff. And I still think I believe in Christ, but I've
Absolutely.
studied Native American spirituality and I love Norse stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess mostly I've seen these beings of light, and I'm like, well, there's probably a Christ boss, like a 12th level boss, a leader guy.
I believe in angels, and
yes, I've seen them.
So I believe like Del and I get into many deep conversations. We definitely don't have the same belief systems. And he feels that angels have no place, and nor do they want to ever work with humanity. I don't feel that way. So we just agree to disagree. That's why I say I don't argue with people, because I don't have all the answers. I just know from my own experience or having conversations with other people. And I like to have conversations like this to hear what people feel or what they believe or what they thought. Because I think we can all learn from each other.
I keep hearing feedback. Do you hear anybody else hear that? Or is it just me hearing it? Sometimes it's just me.
It's a woman's voice. Woman's voice. Yeah, there we go. Again. Yep.
Sometimes I wonder if StreamYard's like picking up someone else's radio show, like that's doing theirs at the same time or something.
I can tell you right now, on Tuesday night, used to do Tripping the Void here with Seraphine Hurley. We had so many EVPs come through while we were doing shows. It was crazy. And it was EVPs.
I hear something. I don't know what it is, but I mean, maybe it's just a weird technical thing. I have no idea. But who knows? Usually I'll listen to the show later and you don't really hear it. You might hear a little bit of something, but not like you hear it on the mic or whatever. So who knows? But so what is Dale's belief system? His native?
Well, no, actually, his mother is very religious. His father was Cree Indian, and I think a little bit of Ukrainian. His father passed away quite young, quite a few years ago. But Dell's actually been baptized 3 times because his mother is, again, a nurse also, but very religious. He knows the Bible much better than I do. So he I know from our conversations that he kind of feels like I do. He's spiritual, believes in God, we both believe in Christ. We believe in angels. So again, he's not overly religious. So, and he's very opinionated. Like he's kind of really black and white about a lot of things. So, but again, I don't think it's anybody's place to judge somebody. Like when I do readings for people or healing work, to me, it doesn't matter to me what your belief system is. I've had work with people that are atheist, Muslim, Jewish, First Nation, anything, because it doesn't matter to me. It's about the person, usually coming for some guidance or, maybe willing to try some energy healing or whatever it may be, Reiki. So that's kind of where it is.
So what do you think about what's going on with Earth and everything right now? It seems like the sun's about to eat us. I'm in Florida, and the heat here is the most terrible it's ever been since I've been here. You go outside for a minute, and you're just pouring sweat. I hate it. But anyway, it just seems like a lot of people, like I've been getting dizzy a lot. And people that my mother has, Christina has, people I've spoke to, and I put a status up on Facebook, and so many people replied it was just eerie about how many people were dizzy and feeling off balance. It was creepy. Like it was like a horror movie. So many people replied to that.
No, I agree with you. I don't know if Joe probably hasn't. He calls me conspiracy princess. No, I'm not conspiracy princess. I've done a lot of research. I think that there is a physical element behind what's going on with this, a lot more than what people are aware of. And I also believe, I really do believe there's a spiritual, energetic element to this as well. I do.
I think it's magnetic fields, and I would not be against some foreign nation using energy weird weapons. They have that stuff. I don't try to go cuckoo with it or anything, but they have it. And I've had Robert Duncan on, who worked for the CIA, and they turned his technology and abused it, and he whistleblowed. And that was one of the creepiest targeted individual shows. I don't normally do those kind of shows, but that one creeped me out, made me wonder if I got put on a list or something. And then the glass broke and all that, so you get paranoid with that stuff.
I can tell you right now, Dell's show, actually, I like to call it truth seeking. That's usually what he does, is examining conspiracy theories and stuff. You can ask Joe. We were still on after a show. We had a black 4x4 SUV parked right in front of our car, a house at midnight, blacked out windows. So I even turned the computer around. I said, "What do you think this is, Joe?" And he goes, "I don't know. I don't know what it could be. Maybe. But why would they?" But we talk about stuff that maybe they don't want us talking about. I do talk about it. I had Dr. Rima Labo on my show 2 weeks in a row, and she was on Jesse Ventura's show years ago, the conspiracy show. It was only shown once. I'm not a fan of Alex Jones, but he was unknown then. He interviewed her. This show was in 2009, and she has been telling the world what is happening right now was going to happen in 2004. Her husband was really, really high up in the military. He was second in command with the Navy. His name was Major General Albert Stubblebine. She claims he was murdered. I don't know if he was or not, but how did this woman know all this stuff? She's a doctor. But how did she know all this stuff back in 2004?
I've seen it was at the Targeted Individual show that Jesse did. Yeah, I've seen that one. That was chilling. I don't like Alex Jones either. He's crazy. But as far as I like Jesse Ventura, and they got rid of that show.
You know
something
why?
About airport scanners and cancer or something too about it.
Because apparently that show with Rima Labo was shown once, and there was one other one. And again, now we got to take it with a grain of salt because this is coming out of Alex Jones' mouth. But he claims it was only shown once, and that the Fed showed up and threatened, if you ever do stuff like this again. That's when he went to UFO and Bigfoot stuff, apparently, and then he was kind of fizzled out after that.
I was hoping he was going to run for president. He talked about it some. I would have liked to seen him in there compared to some of the other idiots. Yeah, for sure. He has some good books too. I haven't read them, but I like that show. That Deborah Taver, she has some pretty interesting stuff about Targeted Individual. I've watched a lot of her stuff. I'm surprised they ain't whacked that lady. The stuff she talks about, water poisoning and everything.
I don't know if I agree with most of what she says, but again, interesting to hear what some people are putting out there and their perspective on things, right?
Things are so crazy with conspiracy stuff. Like I don't really aspire to any political party. I like Bernie. I ended up voting for Biden just to get rid of the Trump thing because it was so crazy. But I work at a right-wing site before it's news, and they love that Q stuff. It is so insane, some of the stuff I see. It's just Robert Jr., Kennedy Jr.'s Q, and he's going to reveal himself. He's dead. It's like they're just crazy.
I
It's the
don't
craziest
really
stuff.
get into that stuff because I think
It's
it, like,
nutty.
for example, there's a lady out there in Canada that's calling herself the Queen of Canada, and she's really in charge. And I called BS on that one right away, and I still do to this day. Still do. They claim that your military put her in charge. Okay, well, your military and our military was right beside you guys when you guys were in Iraq. Because I have a friend that did 40 years in the military. He worked with your black ops and stuff. Okay, even when you guys got rid of Saddam Hussein, did you guys never pick their leader? You oversaw their election and they picked their leader. So I highly doubt the military picked our new leader.
That's why it's hard for me to understand people that are so pro-government. And, yay America! It's like being pro Ted Bundy, or pro Jeffrey Dahmer. Yay Jeffrey Dahmer! I love you. Yay! I'll just respect the lands, and the institutions can go drop dead for pretty much. But it's just crazy for sure. Everything just seems, things just seem like they keep getting crazier. Where I'm at in Florida right now, they just shut down my brother's Lynn Haven because of the Delta variant. It affected 80 people. They did a deep cleansing. Now they just shut down the Walmart near me for the same thing. So it's still running crazy down here, that virus.
But Canada, Ontario, we were locked down so badly after Easter. It just opened about a month and a half ago. We couldn't buy anything but food and prescriptions, even if you could reach over the rope. Baby items were nothing was deemed essential. So I hear you, but with the Delta variant, I seen this really interesting video, and I have to say this. He made a point with the fact that he's an independent news reporter. He didn't have an agenda, but he actually called around and he spoke to nurses that were involved with all of this and what have you. I'm trying to avoid the terminology with us being on YouTube here. But anyways, he said that he had to work. He was going to be working in a nursing home, and he needed specific tests for the Delta. Every single person he called, and there were about 10 different agencies, 10 different healthcare professionals, there is no test. So how do they know it exists?
I've heard different stuff about it. I don't know much about it either myself, but I don't know, stuff I've seen at the sides is patented and escaped from a lab too. There's just so much crap. It's hard to know what's what, from both sides. But the right kind of seems like they're trying to get you to die from it or something. Some of them still don't even think the original virus exists, and there's 600,000 people dead or more here. Probably more than that.
Oh, I think you made a good point. Is there's so much divide and arguing, and again, we go right back to where we were talking about in the beginning with energy. And I will be very honest with you, at the end of every one of my shows, I just say to people, if we could just agree to put our differences aside and just all pull together, right? That's the main thing here, because, we're being censored and all kinds of things. And that's what I'm concerned about. Or like you talked about your brother-in-law's business, you said, and the Walmart, you know what I mean?
Walmart, yeah.
If we could just pull together, and I would just love for us to retain kind of the freedom that we have. That's what I'm worried about, is losing our freedom, all of us.
Less arguing and actually trying to help the earth, and all the craziness going on with that we're killing it with so many different things. And I know the heat here has been crazy. It's crazy everywhere, but every year it's just getting hotter.
Here, we're talking, mind you, we can go down to minus 50, minus 55. I'm 35 minutes away from the Minnesota border. In the winter, and there's no difference Celsius or Fahrenheit at that temperature. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been up almost in 105, 110, and that's not with the humidex. It's been crazy. So I hear you with the heat. I can't even imagine what Florida would be like, because I've been to Florida many times.
It's like the Amazon. It's just so bad. It's just so yucky. It's just horrible. And then the bugs, oh my God, it's terrible.
You know what we've noticed? Have you guys noticed this? And we've never seen this. There's flies everywhere, like tons and tons and tons of flies. We've never had this before. They're everywhere. They were all over our car today. And it's not just us, it's everywhere. Everybody you talk to, it's crazy.
It's definitely. I know there was. My sister lives up there too, and she says it's been real hot. She lives in Sarnia, which I don't know how
Oh,
far that is from you,
yeah.
but
Oh, it's about 26 hours away by car because you have to go all around the Great Lakes. You can't go through them. That's why because Michael Angley always says to us, well, I'm right by you. I'm in New York. It's like, no, Michael, we have to go all the way around the lakes, either this way down to Toronto or that way, Chicago way, and all through to get to New York, like a long ways away from New York.
definitely. I've never been there, but maybe one day. My sister's up there. She met someone and moved up there, and I know Sarnia, and
It's
I've never been
beautiful.
to
Sarnia's
visit
beautiful.
it one day for sure. Hey,
Oh.
you were born there, and so was Dale, right?
Well, Dal, actually, yeah, Dal was born here, and then he lived in Toronto for the first 4 or 5 years. Then they moved up here, and then before him and I got together, he lived in Toronto with his previous was ex, I guess. But I've known his family my whole life, and people think that we're related by blood. We're related by marriage. We're like the second version of our aunt and uncle that are married. So our mutual aunt was his dad's sister, and our mutual uncle is my dad's brother. So, like I said, we're like the second generation of Potvin, and his last name is Lassie.
Excuse me. Looking up Dan Aykroyd. He's from Canada.
I know he is. Yes,
I love.
he's got some interesting information out there. Definitely.
You seen his documentary with David Sarita, that UFOs Unplugged? That's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Just sits there like chain smoking cigars and talks about UFOs.
What really surprised me about him was, and again, I guess if it's in your bubble, you notice it more, is my youngest being under the autism spectrum. Apparently Dan Aykroyd is too. Very high functioning, but I found that really fascinating.
Yeah, he's definitely got some good UFO information. I wish he'd put out more documentaries. I don't know if he still belongs to MUFON. That's the only thing about him that bugs me. I don't really like them that much, but to each their own. But I know he was like a representative with them or something. I don't know. I'm sure he still is, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in the Toronto area. So, but no, I've seen some of his stuff, and it certainly is fascinating. And yeah, he hasn't put anything out recently at all.
Well, I know MUFON's been taking some crazy hits with crazy stuff. Like there was racists in their organization, and there was then that Jan guy was caught like trying to do kids or something crazy. I don't. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm surprised it's still standing, but it is. Like that dude was the leader. Did they even get rid of that dude? I don't think they. I don't know.
I don't really. And again, just my thoughts, but I think that at one time it was probably a great organization, but I think it's had a little influence from different organizations. I sort of feel that it's not quite completely objective. Again, that's just my opinion, but so again, I don't discount anything, but I don't know, I'm a little careful, I'll say, by what I see coming out of there.
Yeah, I see crazy stuff coming from that situation. And then there was the crazy situation where Robert Bigelow owned it for a while. Mm-hmm. And I heard they were selling stuff to him without asking the abductees out of the locker and stuff, and crazy stuff. And then I guess he got rid of it supposedly. Then of course he went on to buy Skinwalker Ranch. Just too much shady stuff. I mean, it was that place. That's why I don't mess with them. But definitely, I know the Bigelow stuff now. Then he bought Skinwalker Ranch. Now he sold it. So definitely interesting. I know a friend of mine just put out an audio book by Jacques Vallée. Did I say that correctly? Hopefully I try to. And it's Dimensions. Mike Hacker, he's going to come on the show. Wham will be here. But he did an audio book of one of his Dimensions, and it's on Audible, so that should be pretty cool. One of the biggest things about Vallée, though, is he went to Skinwalker Ranch for Bigelow, but no one ever told us what happened there. That's upsetting. No, they never really said what happened.
There's so much mystery around that, I have to say. Like, I'm still kind of curious, like, what's going on there, like, what's real, what's not, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is going on there.
Have you seen the crazy show that's on History Channel about it?
I maybe the one you we're talking about the same one, but I've seen many, and it depends who does it and who's involved with it.
That new guy, Brandon, whatever, is in the show. But it's called Seeker Skinwalker Ranch. It's on History Channel. But people are getting radiation burns and going to the hospital and all that from there. It's pretty weird. It's a good watch if you haven't seen it. I know there's Hunt for the Skinwalker, the documentary based on the book, but the show's on History Channel. It's called the second season.
I think I've seen that. Like, I find really fascinating to time travel, dimensions, things. Like I said, I kind of I look at everything here, and again, it just fascinates me, right? Because it just seems like there's so much to look into or research, and it's all just really fascinating to me.
Definitely is, and I haven't watched the second season yet, but if you get a chance, put that on your itinerary. I know you don't watch it on TV, but that is a crazy show. They're getting radiation burns there, and weird, crazy, like it's one of the weirdest paranormal shows I've ever seen. I haven't seen the second season yet, but and also they're feeding it, so if something's there, how many people are feeding it, watching it at the same time? So it's like feeding it, making it stronger or whatever.
I get you.
Well, it's been great, Lorilei. We're at the tail end here. And what's your links and everything?
Okay, so I have my show, The Angel Rock. That's on Monday nights from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central, live. I'm trying to remember who I have on. I have somebody on. She's good, actually. She's written Encyclopedia of Angels. We're going to be talking about, if I'm not mistaken, she's going to be talking about UFOs actually on Monday. I wish I could. I don't have her name in front of me. Really nice lady, though. I've got Augie Noss coming on this month and stuff. I've got a whole bunch of people. If you ever want to get a hold of me, on Facebook.com/Angel Rock. I also have two groups on Facebook. So it's been a long day. Paranormal University for all things paranormal. We've got a great group of people over there. And then the Angel Rocker Tribe for all more of the esoteric type of energy, spiritual stuff. And thank you so much for having me on. I love being here. Thank you.
You're welcome. I had Augie on not too long ago. He's a trip for sure. He's a
good friend of mine.
Oh, cool. He's a hoot, no doubt. I loved it. It was good. Definitely. All right, everybody. Well, thanks, Wham. Thanks, Lorilei. Thanks, Joe. Hope Joe's feeling better. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you next Friday. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Thanks for listening. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7. And this is the tail end. We got like 2 minutes, so I'm sure Joe will pop up in a minute.
I know he does this all the time, usually at the end, and I'll say goodnight to everybody, and then we'll still be chit-chatting. We're still live.
Yeah, definitely. Still live. Yeah. And I saw Suicide Squad last night, the new one. That was really good.
Oh, Del watched that today. I didn't watch it, but he was laughing at it. Looked like this giant starfish with an eyeball in it. I saw that part. Yeah.
It's worth watching for sure, but definitely a bloody mess. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it.
They say only pedophiles watch that movie, right?
Oh, sure.
I'm just saying. Don't be hating on the messenger. Okay. What can I say? They say only pedophiles watch it. I don't know. I don't know. I never watched it, so I can't actually say.
I only caught a minute. So there you go.
Your voice came back.
Yeah.
Why has your voice back?
I can't imagine Joe with absolutely no voice.
It's happened once or twice in my life. It was no fun. Very first time I was serving in the Navy, they put me in charge of the scullery, right? I'm screaming at these guys all day long. So it's in the pots and pans section. So all of a sudden, I'm about halfway through the day, that's no voice. So this old lady comes out of nowhere with this thing of honey and a lemon. She squirts it on it, and she said, just suck on this for a little while. And after about 20 minutes, I got my voice back. It was a lot of fun. What can I say?
We can't even see you. You're like the mystery man tonight.
Yeah. It's because it's and all this stuff. We're going to be speaking out in Las Vegas. I'll be out there not Las Vegas, and LA. I'll be out there a couple of times this year. So I'll be representing the network. That's why the next meeting is teaching everyone how to use streaming.
Did you figure that out now? Because you get the
Actually, we did. I'm not going to talk about it on air, but when we get off in a second, we actually figured out who is it? Chasing Prophecy running their show now.
Oh, right on.
Last 2 weeks, she did her own. She made a new promo, new intro because she's moving, telling her and swapping spots this week. So she's got her new promo, her new intro, her new banner and everything. So she's already going and she's got everything good and get together. So when I logged in, I set it up yesterday, but when I logged into the system, she was already in there with Sean.
Oh, right on. So what time is Dell's show? Because he's not here. He's at camp, and I'll have to tell him.
6 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay, so 5 o'clock his time. Or wait,
A
6?
little earlier than us, so 5, yeah, 6 my time, 5 y'all's time.
Yeah. Okay.
In case y'all know what we're talking about the Delicious Tale. He's moving to Thursday, and Chasing Prophecy is moving to Tuesday because they need 2 hours.
Right.
And we're planning on putting somebody after that. We're not going to mention her name. She's in the room here, but we're not going to mention her name.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be Saturday. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, but anyway, so she's gonna probably be following them. So that'll give y'all from Paranormal Plus until until about 11 o'clock, and then of course Dave Scott takes over with the Delicious Scott. What can I say? He's every lady's dream. Scott, if you're listening, I'm playing you up here, even though I know you're a married man with children.
I forgot we're still live. Sorry, I forgot. I didn't realize
He don't get as many hours as he used to. We got a couple of shows that are trying out for the slot, so you know how that goes. Competition, man, competition. We got a group that does a late night show out of New York, and they really want the slot. They're insane too. I don't know if they're ready for prime time yet. So but late night will be fine. They won't be on FM, that's for sure.
We can run it. We can run our own show. That's good. I like that.
They won't be on FM because they talk about a lot of stuff that we can't say on FM. But they'll be live still and all. They'll just be live at night.
When's the next meeting?
Close to the end of the month, probably the third week of the month. That's what it's looking like, the third Saturday.
Do I need to learn StreamYard? Because you had said something I may not need to if we call something.
Well, it depends where I'm going, but you still should be able to learn it because, like, if I'm traveling, so your show's on Friday, so it's iffy-skiffy with you. But if I'm attending conferences, you need to know how to do yours because I'll be at a conference, I won't be able to do it. All I'll be able to do is log the servers in. And, I might be telling you, hey, I needed 2 hours for a live interview, so you better watch that. But all the stuff I'm doing for the gala event for Writers of the Future, all of that's going to be pre-recorded stuff. So there's 24 winners of the Writers of Future's books and 24 winners of the artists. I'm going to lose my mind. Well, there's only supposed to be 12 and 12, but just 2 years of it. And I got one more L. Ron Hubbard Writers of the Future book to give away. I think it's like book 34 or 33. So, man, they went fast. I mean, they went really fast. I'm getting ready to get another group of them. But they're going really fast because there's a lot of good stories in there. And he gave me, I can't show you, but he sent me that pad, everything that he ever did, every sci-fi he ever did. Man, there's some good stuff in there. And so some of it's on audio, some of it's got to be read. It's a nice thing. He takes up a lot of stuff. And he asked me if I was going to ever get it. Yeah, I said probably about 3 or 4 years when I've used everything in it. Then I'll put it up. It's an Apple iPad to boot, so I mean, it's a nice Apple iPad too. It's fully, he had to max out just because of the stuff they crammed into it. It was great though.
Nice.
But they're really good people over there. They take good care of us. We get a lot of free publicity out of them. They hobnobbing with the rich and famous. And the other day he was with the general from Space Command, and he just interviewed the Mars rover. The guy who's driving the Mars rover. My interview with De Blasio is going to be like 4 or 8 weeks. I don't know. I got to find out when.
Now that was the big surprise you were.
Well, we discussed it the other day. They want to wait, because he's not going to be mayor anymore. They want to wait until his mayor he's out of office. So, but it's already done. We've already agreed on all 26 questions. It took 4 months to agree on these 26 questions, and a lot of them were fluff questions, and it still took 4 months.
Wow.
Some of them pretty hard hitting. I asked him, like with the Rachel Maddow interview I got with her, which is they're going to air. And recently, they just sent me a thing the other day that let me know they're going to air it. I asked some personal questions. I asked about his wife. I asked about being in a mixed marriage. How did it work for him? How did he, what was he thinking when his daughter was out there? Was he proud of her out there protesting? Or was he worried that some crazy redneck might kill her or something? So there's some serious questions in there, but there are also some fluffy questions in there too. And I gave him a shot. I gave him 5 liberal questions that he could pan out in case he wants to run for president or something like that. So,
right,
because now the Democrats' hope was Newsom or Comey. Well, they're not going to make it now. They're shit up, so they're going to have to find somebody else to run.
Is that
God
what
help me.
we're
God
tonight?
help. Whoever the next president is, can he please be under the age of 70, maybe 60 at least? I mean, I don't want to go back to the little youngins because they're just stupid.
You don't want a little Mr. Pink Pants, Sexy
No,
Pants,
but I would
Justin
like somebody 50.
Castro.
You know,
can
guys
have
50.
From the bed.
You know, guys 50 are great. That's what I would like. Somebody in their 50s. Could be a
You can
woman,
have
could be a
Justin.
man. Jeffrey's 50 now. You know, he could run.
46. I noticed that background went away when she turned her mic off, didn't it? It seemed like it.
Oh,
That
you didn't
weird
hear me
noise.
muted a little while ago. Yeah, it was most of the problems I was having were coming with Wham's mic. She must have had